Every day you wake up with a choice to speak words that strengthen you or to repeat the same patterns that keep you stuck. And the truth is, most people underestimate the power of their own voice. They assume their thoughts will naturally guide them, they assume motivation will simply appear, and they assume peace will somehow protect itself. But life doesn't work like that. Peace is not automatic. Growth is not automatic. Confidence is not automatic. You build them with intention, and the first tool you use is the language you feed your mind. One of the greatest mistakes people make is assuming that the mind will stay disciplined on its own, that clarity will stay with them, that purpose will remain stable, that their inner strength will always be available. But the mind drifts, the world distracts, people drain you, life challenges you. That is why the sentences you speak every morning become your anchor, your personal declaration that you refuse to live by accident. When you begin your day by speaking powerful sentences, you start reclaiming control over the parts of your life that usually slip away. Because without intentional words, you fall into old emotional patterns, you react instead of respond. You let situations affect you instead of guiding your own energy. Most people begin their day in silence, but the silence is not peaceful. It's full of leftover thoughts, old worries, doubts, noise, and fears from yesterday. You don't rise above that by chance. You rise by speaking something stronger than the noise inside you. Think about it. Every day you talk to the world, you talk to people, you talk to responsibilities, but how often do you talk to yourself in a way that lifts you? You need sentences that remind you who you are becoming, not only who you were. Sentences that remind you of your value before the world tries to diminish it. Sentences that remind you to protect your energy before someone attacks it. Sentences that remind you to stay calm before life tries to shake you. The right words are not motivation, they are direction. They tell your mind where to go, what to focus on, and what to let go of. And this is where most people fail. They assume the mind will stay strong without guidance. They assume confidence will stay high without reinforcement. They assume peace will hold itself together without being protected. They assume clarity will stay clear without being spoken into existence. But nothing in life stays strong without maintenance. Not your body, not your relationships, not your goals, and definitely not your mind. You have to speak to yourself with power because life will speak to you with pressure. You have to give yourself strength with words because the world will test that strength. You have to build your inner peace every morning because the day will surely challenge it. When you speak these 7 sentences every single day, you are not reciting positivity, you are programming your mindset. You are giving your heart reassurance. You are teaching your nervous system calmness. You are reminding yourself that you are the protector of your own peace. This is not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about preparing yourself so that when things go wrong, you remain unshaken. Your words give you balance when life tilts you. Your words give you focus when life distracts you. Your words give you power when doubt tries to weaken you. Because the truth is simple. Your life gets better when your daily language gets stronger. And if you're willing to speak those sentences with intention every day, the version of you that you've been trying to reach will finally begin to rise. Protecting your peace always begins with understanding one truth. Not everyone deserves access to your mind, your time, or your emotions. And yet, most people move through life giving themselves away too easily. They assume certain people will always respect them. They assume certain relationships will always be stable. They assume certain behaviors will never change. They assume someone will always be there, understanding, comforting, or supporting them. But that assumption is a silent mistake, because the moment you believe someone will always be there, you stop protecting your peace, and you start giving away pieces of yourself without realizing it. Peace is not lost in one dramatic moment, it is lost slowly, in the moments where you fail to set boundaries, fail to speak for yourself, fail to honor your own needs. That is why one of your daily sentences must remind you that your peace is your responsibility and your boundaries are your protection. A boundary is not a wall, it is clarity. It is the understanding that your energy has value, your time has importance, and your emotions deserve respect. But clarity only appears when you speak it. Most people stay quiet, hoping others will magically understand them. They stay silent, hoping someone will change. They tolerate disrespect because they assume things will go back to normal. They hold on to people who drain them because they assume loyalty means never letting go. But your peace cannot survive on assumptions. It survives on intentional self-respect. You do not protect your peace by wishing for better behavior from others. You protect it by speaking the sentences that remind you where your limits are. One of the most powerful sentences you can say each day is, "My peace matters, and I choose what I allow." This one sentence can change the entire direction of your relationships, your reactions, and your emotional health. When you repeat it daily, you teach your mind to pause before giving your energy away. You remind your heart that not everyone should have the same level of access to you. You remind your soul that protecting your peace is not selfish, it is necessary. It gives you permission to say no without guilt, to walk away without fear, and to stand firm without apology. Because here's the truth: every relationship in your life is either feeding your peace or draining it. And sometimes the people you assume will always be there are the ones who take your peace the most. Not because they are bad people, but because you have not been clear with yourself about what you deserve. When you speak daily sentences that reinforce your boundaries, you no longer wait for others to treat you right. You begin treating yourself right first. Your self-respect becomes a filter that chooses who stays close and who remains at a distance. You stop explaining your worth. You stop giving endless chances. You stop believing that being a good person means tolerating disrespect. Instead, you rise into a version of yourself that values inner calm more than chaotic company. Protecting your peace is not about cutting people off. It is about choosing the version of yourself you want to be around. When you speak the right sentences every day, you become emotionally stronger. You become mentally sharper. You become spiritually balanced. You attract people who respect your boundaries because you respect them yourself. You move through your day with a sense of inner control because you've already spoken your direction before the world tries to steal it. And that's the power of daily language. It sets the tone for your relationships, your reactions, and your entire emotional life. When you decide that your peace comes first, the world finally begins to reflect that decision back to you. Self-respect is not something you suddenly discover one day. It is something you build, reinforce, and strengthen through the words you speak to yourself every single morning. And yet, most people assume their self-worth will always stay intact. They assume confidence will always return. They assume they will always bounce back no matter how much they tolerate, how much they give, or how much they sacrifice. But assuming you will always feel strong is a mistake. Every time you stay silent when you should speak, every time you let someone cross a boundary, every time you give more than you receive, you lose a little piece of yourself. That is why your daily sentences must reinforce your value, because self-respect fades when you stop reminding yourself who you are. Life has a way of testing your worth. People will try to take advantage of your kindness. Stress will try to break your spirit. Disappointments will try to shake your confidence. And if you don't speak words that lift you above those moments, you begin to slip into emotional habits that weaken you. You start accepting what you don't deserve. You start believing you're worth less than you truly are. You start silencing your own needs because you're afraid of losing someone. But the truth is, the moment you fear losing someone more than losing yourself, your self-respect begins to suffer. That is why daily language matters. It is your reminder that you are not here to shrink, to please, or to settle. You're here to grow. One of the most important sentences you can say every day is, "I deserve the same respect I give to others." When you speak this with meaning, it changes the way you show up in the world. You stop letting people take you for granted. You stop begging for attention, love, or appreciation. You stop holding on to people who make you feel small. Because when your language honors your value, your actions begin to match. You walk differently. You speak differently. You decide differently. You stop being impressed by someone's presence and start being impressed by how they treat you. Self-respect is not loud. It does not demand. It does not chase. It does not try to force anything. Self-respect is calm. It is grounded. It is quietly powerful, but it only becomes strong when you reinforce it daily. When you wake up and remind yourself that you are enough. When you speak sentences that affirm your worth before the world tries to question it. When you look in the mirror and say something that tells your mind, I will not abandon myself today. So many people lose themselves in relationships, friendships, responsibilities, or expectations because they assume their identity will always remain intact. They assume they can handle disrespect. They assume they can endure everything. But you are not built to carry everyone and everything while staying whole. You are built to honor yourself first. Daily sentences help you return to that truth. They remind you that you should never have to fight for the bare minimum. They remind you that your needs matter. They remind you that your emotional balance is worth protecting. And when you reinforce that every day, you begin to raise your standards, not out of pride, but out of peace. Self-respect creates a new level of life. It changes the people you allow close, the opportunities you accept, the behaviors you tolerate, and the way you treat yourself. And once you elevate your language, your entire life begins to rise with it. Because when you choose to speak sentences that build your worth, the world eventually learns to treat you according to the standard you set. Consistency is the quiet force that transforms simple sentences into a powerful new way of living. Most people speak strong words once, maybe twice, and then expect their life to change. But nothing in life changes without repetition. Not your habits, not your mindset, not your emotions. And yet, people assume that once they say something empowering, the feeling will stay forever. They assume confidence will remain. They assume clarity won't fade. They assume discipline won't weaken. But assuming your strength will always be there is a mistake. Your mind needs reminders. Your heart needs direction. Your spirit needs reinforcement. Without consistent language, even the strongest intention dissolves back into old patterns. Every meaningful transformation begins with small, repeated steps. And speaking your 7 sentences every day is one of those steps. When you repeat them consistently, they stop being mere words and start becoming a new identity. They start shaping how you think, how you react, how you choose, and how you protect your peace. Because the mind does not change through intensity, it changes through consistency. It changes through hearing the same empowering message over and over until it becomes the automatic response to everything life throws at you. Think about how you learn to walk, read, drive, or master anything important in your life. It wasn't one lesson, it was repetition, it was practice. It was showing up even when you didn't feel like it. Your emotional strength works the same way. Peace becomes natural when you consistently choose it. Confidence becomes stable when you consistently reinforce it. Boundaries become normal when you consistently speak them into existence. And self-respect becomes unshakable when you remind yourself of your worth every single day. But this is where many people lose their way. They speak powerful sentences for a few days, then slip back into old habits. They expect instant results, and when life challenges them, they assume the affirmations didn't work. But affirmations are not magic. They are maintenance. They are mental workouts. You don't go to the gym once and expect lifelong strength. You don't meditate once and expect lifelong peace. In the same way, you cannot speak life into yourself once and expect permanent transformation. Consistency is what makes the change real. One of the most important shifts you'll ever make is understanding that daily repetition is not boring, it's building. It's building a stronger mindset. It's building a calmer emotional foundation. It's building a future version of you who no longer breaks under pressure. When you speak your 7 sentences every day, you are choosing the long-term version of yourself over the temporary comfort of doing nothing. You are choosing growth over stagnation. You are choosing peace over chaos. You are choosing your future over your past. And something beautiful happens when you stay consistent long enough the sentences stop being intentional, they become natural. They become your automatic way of thinking. They become your mental home. They become the truth you live by without effort. And once your mindset shifts on that level, your entire life moves with it. You begin to handle challenges differently. You begin to choose relationships more wisely. You begin to protect your peace without guilt. You begin to expect respect without demanding it. You begin to feel aligned with the person you've always wanted to be. Consistency is not loud, it is loyal. And when you stay loyal to your own growth, your life transforms in ways you never thought possible. Because these 7 sentences are not just things you say, they are things you become. And becoming them requires showing up for yourself every single day, especially on the days when you don't feel strong,